Hello there, welcome to We Are Crafted in His Image. I am not doing a Coco and Crafts class today. I am here to share with you how I made this pretty card. It uses a fun technique. I'm not even sure what it's called, but it uses tissue paper to make this kind of a silky, fabric-y look on your card. So let's get started. It is using the Celebration stamp set called Wonderful World and Nature's Prints. I love this fern right here, and we're going to use this little splattery stamp as well. So let's go ahead and get started. There's quite a few steps, so I had fun playing with this, just doing a new technique, something I had never done before. So yeah, let's go ahead. I'll move this here. We have a couple things to do, and first thing first is to do our envelope, and where's my envelope? There it is. And the background part of our paper. So let me turn a light on. The sun is going down. I'm getting some weird lights coming through the window. But I'm going to start out with our background. So to do that, we need the fern. Where did I do the stamp sets? There they are. Should have had these mounted already and ready to go. And we're going to need this scrunchy. There we go. There we go. Alright. Let's see. Will it fit on that one? It does. So, to do this, I'm going to use Mossy Meadow. And I'm going to stamp two ferns. Let's see, one right about there. And the other one, actually, yeah, right about here. That looks good. And then, while I have it out, the Mossy Meadow, let me get a scrap piece of paper in here, because I'm going to stamp off onto it. And I want to do this little splatter step a few times, but I don't want it to be very dark, so I'm going to stamp a couple of times before I stamp down on my paper, and even then I'm going to stamp even a couple more times before I re-ink. And then I think we'll just do one more here and maybe there. And then I think a little different than my last one, I'm also going to add in a little bit of the same stamp but in crumb cake. So let me clean off my Mossy Meadow off of there. And again, I want this to be light, so I'm going to stamp a few times. And I'm just giving a little bit of grungy texture to our background piece. There we go. Yeah, that looks good. I don't think I want to do that whole thing. And then the next thing I'm going to do is, I need this still out because I'm going to grab my blending brush and I'm going to deepen up the edges. And I'm not too concerned about if it has dark splotchy spots on it because we're going for an antique-y grungy look here, so it's okay if some spots come out darker than others. There we go. I'm trying to do this kind of quickly for you. And the reason I'm doing this first is we're going to do some splattering, and I need that to dry before we go on to finish this part, so I'm going to go ahead and get that done and let it dry. Okay, so there's that, and now we're going to do some splatters. So let me get that out of the way. I'm going to pull in Calypso Coral. I love this color. And I'm pulling in my splatter box. Where'd it go? There it is. My messy, messy splatter box. So I'm going to grab one of my small inks, or small blocks, and I'll put some ink on it, like that. Then I'm going to pull in our Wink of Stella, and I'm going to drop a few drops, there we go, on there of Wink of Stella, and mix that up. Pick up the color with my brush, and then just using something to tap and get little spots splattered all around. And this part then will need to dry before we go on. So I'm going to do this. I'm also going to do the envelope flap. So let me get those done. Set that aside. And let me grab my scrap paper again, because I want to block off the main part of the envelope. I just want the flap exposed. So there you go. See what I did? I just kind of tucked that back inside there. And then again, I'm going to pick up some of that sparkly ink and tap it. You definitely want a splatter box, although it's still going to end up, I will find ink all over there anyway. But it'll contain most of it, right? So I am going to set this aside because I'm going to use it again when we at a later time. But for now, that's looking pretty good. I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to just push this over here, get it out of the way, and while that's drying, I'm just going to do it on here. What do I need next? I need the inside of my card, and for this I'm going to use Mossy Meadow, and we need, in this stamp set, there's this cute little set of rose leaves. Let's get a small block, and I'm just going to ink up, oh, where'd my card go? 2 of them. One here and one here. And actually what I just realized I did on the original, you see the difference in color? I stamped off before I stamped it. So I'm going to flip over, stamp on here, and stamp. That way I get a lighter color. It gives it that worn, faded look rather than a deep, intense look. And pull out the crumb cake again and do some antiquing. Let's get the edges of this looking like it's old. We're just going to do this all the way around. I just love this style. This is so me. I am still fighting, and it's been a gorgeous day, so we have all the windows open in the house, and unfortunately when the windows are open in the house that means lots of stuff blowing around, and which causes a little more coughing on my part. Alright, so our inside panel is done. Now we're going to work on our pretty rose that goes on the front. So that panel's finished. Now I need to pull out this little piece. And to do that, we're going to use the rose. Now you can do it 2 ways. You can use the marker for both the rose and the leaves, but I found that for some reason my marker wasn't giving me as dark of an impression as I wanted. So I'm going to actually ink up the rose with my ink pad. And I don't know if you can see it in here, but in person, let me move this to autofocus. You can see all that deep, all the extra ink where the lines are. That ends up kind of blurring the lines when, whoops, let me focus it back down here again. It ends up making the lines more, well here, I'll stamp it on here so you can see. Oh, and of course now it's going to look beautiful on here, but a lot of times it ends up making the lines on the edges way too dark. So what I like to do when I'm using a very detailed stamp like this, I ink that up, and then I take a blending brush and I just kind of tap it to remove a little bit of the excess ink. And then I am going to use my Mossy Meadow marker to do the leaves. Get those inked up. For some reason my Calypso Coral pen marker, it might just be getting dry, I might need a new one. But it wasn't giving me as dark of an impression as I wanted. So, there we go. And then I'm going to stamp, excuse me, stamp this here. There we go. We get a pretty impression of that rose. I love the look of this. And then I used this die from the Tasteful Labels die set, cut it out, and ta-da! We have one already ready to go. So this one also needs a little antiquing, so let's go ahead and get our crumb cake back out here. I should just leave them all open until I'm done, huh? I'm just in a habit of closing them so that I don't ink myself up, or set my project on the ink pad, or yeah, I've had many an accident with ink pads. There we go. And I'm just going all around the edges with it. Okay. And while we're waiting for the other to dry, I'm going to go ahead and put the ribbon behind this. So, let me flip this over, grab some Stampin' Seal, and I'm just going to run a couple of strips of Stampin' Seal down the sides. And then I'm going to take, this ribbon is so pretty. It's Flirty Flamingo, but it has like gold in it as well. It's so pretty. And I'm just going to go across that adhesive and fold it back on itself. And then fold it back one more time. Oop, get it where you can see it. And then snip that off. And there we have our ribbon showing through the back. And then we're going to need dimensionals on it. So let me grab some dimensionals. One in the middle. So that piece is ready to go. Now let's see if our background piece is dry enough. I think it is. What we're going to do next is I have already pre-cut a piece of our adhesive paper, adhesive sheets, and I'm going to peel off. I cut it down the exact size as my card, or as this panel here. And so I'm going to lay, I just removed one part. I'm going to lay this on. Then I'm going to remove the next part. Lay it down. And then one more. Lay it down. And basically I just made the whole front of this panel sticky. And I'm going to go ahead and now remove the backing. Set that there. And now I have a piece of tissue paper that I cut, you know, the regular, we get presents for people. And I'm going to crumple it up. And then I'm going to uncrumple it. And then lay it across that sticky piece. And actually what is easier to do is to lay this down this way and put my sticky sheet onto it this way. Just kind of rub down. Now what you don't want to do, what I did on this one here, is I ended up with a big wrinkle right down the middle and it wouldn't glue down properly. So this one has worked much better. And then you simply come in with your paper snips and get rid of that excess. Now, because I put the tissue over, we just lost the effect of the sparkly Wink of Stella. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and actually splatter a little bit more, since we have some more of that ink still on my block. And I'm just going to splatter a little more so that some of that sparkle shows up. You'll have the sparkle on the envelope flap, but the tissue kind of covers up all the sparkle on here. And I like my sparkle. So I'm going to go ahead and move this out of here. Put this back in here. Grab a little bit more of that ink. And tap a few more times. So this also helps in that you're getting layers of color, because the color, this Calypso coral that's under the tissue is going to be muted, whereas the coral that's on top will be a little bit more intense. And again, it's also going to have sparkle on it. So we'll give that just a minute or two to dry. And let's finish our envelope by putting a rose on it. Where did I do with the rose? Where'd it go? There it is. So let's do that again. We'll go ahead and ink up. Now, if you accidentally, like here, I accidentally got some coral, actually I did that on purpose, on my leaves, you can just take a baby wipe, or this is a chamois, and just wipe off the areas where you don't want that color. So that's pretty easy to fix. I'm going to go in with my green, and I will go ahead and touch that with my blending brush in just a second. Get this all on here. Get rid of some of that excess ink. There we go. And then I'm going to stamp that right in the middle of the flap. Isn't that pretty? So pretty! Although I think on my other one, I don't know where my other envelope went. There, I stamped it up just slightly higher. Now you notice there's a difference. I need to do some antiquing on this one. I need to make those edges look old and vintage. So let's slide it back in our little pocket again. Pull out. I lost my crumb cake. There it is. And blending brush. And let's blend these edges. And you do want to make sure all of those dots are dry before you do this, or you're going to end up smearing it. And let's do this part right here. And there we go. Finished! So pretty. I love it. Okay, so envelope's finished. And let's start assembling. We have a card base. Now I can close up the inks because I'm done with them. Let me get this one closed up too before I make a mess. Alright, fold our card base down. And it is always a good idea when you're folding, even if you have this score line, don't just go over and then flatten this out, because there is always an option or a chance for it to go crooked. So you always want to line up this corner or the other corner, whichever one works for you, and then start here and work your way down, and that gives you a nice straight card when you're folding it. Even though you've got that score line, sometimes it doesn't always go perfectly straight for you. Okay, so I'm going to pull in my Calypso coral piece here and my Stampin' Seal. Oh, come on. Come on. I keep breaking it off where I don't want it to break. There we go. Got it. Now, this one... Oh, excuse me. I'm so sorry. This one has a very tiny border around it. There we go. And then I'm going to be very gentle. Actually, that's not quite dry, so I'm actually going to do it the way I don't normally do it this way. I'm going to put adhesive on this piece. Just making sure I'm not too close to the edge. And I'm going to very gently put this down so that I don't hit any of those spots that are not dry. And this one I gave a little bit wider border than on the other two. There we go. I'll have to come back later and really push this down, but I don't want to mess up my spots and dots. There we go. And then it's just a matter of putting on our background that we've already got prepped, or excuse me, not our background, our focal point. It's already prepped and ready to roll. There we go. Stick that in the corner. And there we have it. Finished card. Finished envelope. What do you think? Fun technique, not too difficult to do. Let me get this to autofocus and zoom up for you so you can see it a little better. There you go. Pretty card. I love it, and I hope you like it. And until next time, God's love and blessings. Bye.